Thank you for joining the Building a Better Business webinar. In this time, you will learn 5 key principles that will help you accelerate the growth of your business. So before we get started, here's the agenda. First, I'll do a brief introduction, then we'll dive into the 5 key principles and how to apply them, and we'll finish off by sharing what you can do next to continue the growth of your business. So a little about me. I graduated with an MBA from Whitworth University and have spent over 17 years leading growth strategies, including building new products, running marketing campaigns, and increasing overall revenue and profitability for large businesses. Also, I'm a part of a global network of business coaches and consultants called FocalPoint. My clients have the benefit of my experience and the collective experience of over 150 coaches. So who is this workshop for? This is for owners and leaders who are accomplished and looking to grow. This is not for people who are content with where they are. So the goal for today is to take your business to the next level and to share relevant keys to do that. My ask for you is to take action. So who considers themselves as an action taker? And before we get started, I want to make sure that you have the next level worksheets. You should have received them on the confirmation page of your registration or an email. If you don't have them with you, you can either grab them now or refer back to them after the workshop. So here's a problem I think all of us can relate to. The fact is we're all busy. We have a lot going on between our businesses, both managing and growing them, our personal lives, our family, and our friends. And because of that busyness, we put our head down and we keep working, not really knowing where it'll take us. We haven't stepped up above the business and looked at things from a higher level, from above the fog. And when we are down in the business, we see what is just in front of us. It's that day-to-day work that pulls on all prospects, customers, deadlines, and bills. It's all reactionary. The best we can do is just try to get faster at things. And on top of that, we have our competition. And often that competition is not who we think it is. The reality of the marketplace is we are always competing, but who are we competing with? I'll give you an example. Back in the 90s, we had Coke and we had Pepsi, and they were obvious competitors, and they spent millions of dollars trying to eke out a little bit more market share from one another. What ended that head-on-head competition? It wasn't another soft drink. It was coffee. And not only coffee, we had new types of beverages and health drinks. It changed the entire beverage industry, and they have never been the same since. Often the people that we think are our competitors are not the people that our customers are thinking about when they have to decide where to spend their money. And to only make things tougher, we have our internal battles. And often we feel like we're just hanging on by a string, or we are afraid to fail. And we might put on a brave face and go out there acting confident, but inside sometimes we don't feel like we're getting it done, and we're really afraid that we're going to fail. But despite all those problems, there's really an opportunity. We can grow our business by following just a few simple steps. And here's the even better news. It's all learnable. We can set our destination, we can set our path, we can play to our strengths, we can even set the methods for which we measure success. And the result in all that is we can win on our terms. And to get there, we're going to cover 5 key principles: get clarity, balancing roles, embracing change, finding your ideal customer, and setting a simple plan. Now on to principle number 1, get clarity. The fact is, you are doing too much, and you don't have to do everything. But in order to find the right things to do, we need strategy and tactics. We need to know where we are right now, and we need to know where we're going. So if point A is where we are now, we also need to define our point B, which is where we are going. Strategy is determining the direction we're going. The tactics is the method we use to get there. So we're going to look at our first worksheet, which is called Get Clarity. And here we're going to start with our point A. Where are we today? And then we're going to look forward to our point B. Where do we want to be? When starting at point A, we want to ask ourselves the following questions. What is our revenue? Who are people on the team? How many locations do we have? And where are they? How many hours a week do we operate? What about vacation time? Do we even have any, and how much? And finally, who are our prospective customers? And then we go on to point B. And there we ask the same questions, except a little bit differently. What do we want our revenue to be? Who do we need on our team? How many locations do we want and where do we want them? Does online play a role? How many hours a week do we want to operate? And what about that vacation time? How much of it do we want and when do we want it? And finally, for customers, who do we want for our customers? That middle piece there is called roadblocks. Those are those obstacles that become a challenge. However, they don't have to stop us. So for roadblocks, we want to think about what is getting in the way of moving forward. And what do I have to do to get it done so I can get those things out of the way so I can move forward? Or I can take those obstacles as a point of launching myself even further down the road to where I want to go. So quick question for you. What is the impact of getting this right for your business? And that brings us to our next principle, balancing roles. What made you successful up to now is the trap that will keep you from growing. In his book, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, he talks about the 3 roles any entrepreneur or business owner will have. The role of the entrepreneur, the role of the manager, and the role of the technician. The first role is that of an entrepreneur. And as you see, the arrow is moving to the right, which we're going to say is moving forward. The entrepreneur is always looking forward. They're always thinking about where's my business going to be in the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years from now? What markets do I want to enter? What locations do I want to expand into? They're always trying to think ahead. And then we have the manager. Now, the manager is doing something different. They're looking backwards. They're looking at how have we done? Where are we compared to where we wanted to be at this point? What was last month's sales or last year's revenue and how are we doing today? They're always looking backwards to make sure that things are running the way they're supposed to be running. And then the last role is that of the technician. This is the person that's in the work. They're working with customers. They're doing the job. They're handling the complaints. They're installing the wires. Whatever that job may be, they're the ones doing it. The truth is, any business owner is wearing all of these hats at any one given time. Now, let me ask you, how much time do you think the average business owner is spending in each of these 3 areas? I'll tell you this, most of them would like to be in the entrepreneur space. That's why you got into this to begin with. But the reality is they may get 20% of their time if they're lucky to spend on that. Most business owners I work with feel like they're in the negative. They don't really get to spend much time at all, or maybe it's just a few hours on the weekends as they're thinking about it or working on some other things. They spend probably 10 to 15% in that managerial role, and they're still getting into the work. They're getting into those weeds, making sure that the business is running the way it's supposed to go. When they're down there, it's hard to pull their head up and be the manager and even more importantly, the entrepreneur that they want to be. So I want you to do something. I want you to get out a piece of paper and write out what are the tasks that you did in the last 24 to 48 hours. What kind of work did you find yourself doing? Was it that of the entrepreneur, the manager, or the technician? Now let's look at the area of awesome worksheet. The truth is, you're going to have to stop doing some of the things before you start doing some new things. And we're going to start from the outside and work our way inside. So the first one is, what are those things that are awkward to you? What are those things you don't feel very confident in, you don't enjoy doing, and don't seem to go very well? Then the next one, look at the tasks that you're adequate, you're fine, you're not particularly good, and you don't really like them very much. And then we're going to look at those things that you feel accomplished in. These are the things that you've been able to get good at over time with a lot of effort. And then we're going to look at that last one, which is the area of awesome. This is where things come naturally for you. You find joy in them and you really like doing them. Here's the thing. As you call out what those tasks are, you want to see where you can cut awkward and adequate away from your work. How would you do that? Maybe you just stop doing them altogether because you realize it's not helping you that much in your business. Or maybe you need to find somebody who is better at those things. Maybe it's their area of awesome. Or maybe they're accomplished in those things. So you can hand that over so you can focus on the things that you're really good at, the things that really inspire you, and the things that really drive you in your business. So question for you. What is the impact of getting this right for you? How many hours, days, weeks, or months do you spend doing your awkward work? And what does that equate to in money? Here's the big decision. How will you change? Now we're going to look at the third principle, embracing change. And we're going to use sailing as an example. In order for a sailboat to reach its destination, it needs to continually tack, is what they call it, or turn the ship. It's got to know where the winds are blowing and how to adjust their sails to navigate to their final destination. This is a sigmoid curve. As you see it here, there are 3 different phases. This is true for anybody's life, and this is also true in your business. There's a learning phase, and then there's a growing phase, and then there's a decline phase. And in each of these phases, there are some pitfalls or traps that you might find along the way. The first one is the honeymoon trap. This is where you've just started your business, you're really excited, maybe you've gotten some good encouragement, maybe you've made a sale or two, people are really excited, so you're feeling really good, all of it's coming together. But then you get to this point of 3 feet from gold, and you see it go down. This comes from a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in it, he tells a story of a miner back in the 1800s who was back east, moved west, did a little mining, found some gold, spent all of his investment money into buying a mine and buying the equipment because he was going to strike it rich. And so he did, and he started digging, and for years he was digging and digging and digging, and he could never find the gold again that he found originally. So finally he threw in the towel, he gave it up, he decided this is not for me, I failed, and I'm going to sell my mine, I'm going to sell all my equipment, and I'm going to move back east. And so he did that. Now, someone came by and bought the mine and bought that equipment. And as that person started to dig again, just within 3 feet of where the first guy gave up, he found a vein of gold and struck it rich. If the first guy had just waited a little bit longer, he would have been successful. He would have found that gold that he was always looking for. The challenge here is when we are in our business, it could take a while to get things going, for people to learn about us, to learn about our business, for us to even really feel like we're good at talking about what it is that we do. And often we get discouraged and we give up just before things are about ready to turn up. But if we persist and we keep going, you'll find that we start to hit that growth phase. But there's a trap in the growth phase. And that's called the founder's trap. Often we're still growing and we're trying to do everything ourselves because that's how we started. We know our customers, we know our prospects, we know our brand, we know our operations, and so we're constantly in the work. But as our business is growing, it's harder for us to dedicate the time to do all of those things. And so we've got to pivot our thinking from being somebody that just is a solopreneur or just doing the business to delegating. But delegating has its own risks because now you're dealing with more people. You're dealing with systems, you're dealing with accountability, and often a lot of people fall down as they try to make that shift through. But they do, and they get to this thing called the success trap. Now you might ask yourself, what's the problem with success? And the reality is nothing is wrong with success. This is where you want to be. This is where you dreamed of being and what you dreamed for your business as you got started. It's great. You have customers. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Things are working well. Your teams are doing well. And the problem here is as you can see, you're going to move up and then you're going to hit a decline phase. If you remember when we talked about Coke and Pepsi, they were just growing and growing and growing. But often the industry changes, economics change. Our company becomes more costly and harder to just manage because of the sheer size of it. There's a number of things that could threaten us and boost us into that decline phase. The problem with the success trap is we're not seeing those early signs. We're not looking at the leading indicators that are telling us that something's wrong because really our financials and our revenue and our customer base is looking pretty good still. And that's what leads us into the denial trap. We're already shrinking before we even realize it. Our company is already at threat before we even have a glimpse of an idea that something might be wrong. Now, there's a couple things that we can do once we're here and once we realize that we're here. One is we can just wind down the business. A lot of people do that. 2, you can sell it. Or 3, you can reinvent yourself and go on that process of innovation. Now, here's the trick. You want to make sure that you're thinking about innovation or reinvention or selling before you get to the denial trap. Because when is the best time to do those things? When you're still growing. So you have the sigmoid curve worksheet. Think about where you are on the sigmoid curve and what traps could potentially be threatening your business right now. Think about those, call those out, and write down a few things that you can do to help yourself through those traps or to mitigate the risk that you bring to your business by being in those traps. Now what are the areas that you're stuck in? What does it mean if we don't solve it? And what I mean by that is, what does it mean financially for you? What does it mean from a customer base for you? What are your numbers? And what is the impact for not getting this right for you? Which brings us to principle number 4, which is your ideal client. And the truth is, I'm just going to come out and say it, you might need to fire a few clients. Because in order to hone in on your ideal client, the one that's going to be best for you in your business, you might need to let some people go. And you're going to want to set a strategy towards identifying, reaching, and bringing in your ideal client. Here's this analogy, maybe you've heard it before. It's called the drill in the hole analogy. When we go to the hardware store and we look for a drill or we look for a drill bit, the reality is we don't want a drill or a drill bit. We want what those things provide. We're not after the drill bit or the drill, but we're after the hole that it creates because there's something that we want to do with it by creating that hole. You see that picture behind me? It's of Crystal Mountain. Now, there's a number of different ways I could hang that. I could get a drill and a drill bit. I could get a hammer and a nail. I'm still trying to hang that picture. Or here's another thing. I can get command strips. All of them could potentially hang that photo. So when we think about our ideal client and what they care about, it's not what do we provide and what is the thing they're buying, but what is the problem they're trying to solve by buying that. If we can key into that, we can do a much better job of reaching them and communicating the value that we provide with our product or service. Your next worksheet is called Client Core Cares. Here you're going to think about what are your client frustrations? What are their wants? What are their fears? And what are their aspirations? If we can identify these, then we will have a much better idea of how we can serve them and how our products can actually meet their needs. And it'll also help us on the marketing side because now we know how to communicate it in a way that's more effective and more meaningful to our core client. So let me ask you this. What's the impact of getting this right for you? Our last principle, number 5, set a simple plan and ask ourselves, what do I need to do so that I can stay focused? And what do I need to do in order to bring people in? And we need to ask ourselves things like, what doesn't fit? What do you need to remove from your business or your schedule? Because reality is, there's things happening all around us. And often we're not driving the car, which is metaphorical for our business. Somebody else is. The demands of our customers are, the demands of our employees are. So you want to ask yourself, who is driving the car? Who is driving your schedule? Who is driving your business? We want to take whoever's driving, who isn't you, out of that seat, and we want to put you back in that driver's seat. And finally, you want to set your tracks. You want to lay that plan down, and then you want to work the plan. Now, in the one-page action plan, we've got 4 boxes. In the first box, you have your 3-year vision. Write down your 3-year vision. That's your vision for your business and for yourself. In the next box, you have your 12-month goals. Write down your goals over the next 12 months. Now, keep in mind, the goals that you have for the next 12 months need to ladder up to your 3-year vision. If they don't, you would want to rethink what those goals are. Same goes for the projects that you have over the next 90 days, which are those projects that you want to do that are going to help you get to your 12-month goals, which will ultimately get you to your 3-year vision. And then finally, what is your action plan over the next 7 days? What are those things that you're going to do over the next 7 days that are going to help you with the projects that you're going to do in the next 90 days that are get you to your 12-month goal, which is ultimately going to get you to your 3-year vision? Now that we have covered 5 key principles for building a better business: clarity, balancing roles, embracing change, the ideal customer, and setting a simple plan, what are your top takeaways? Fill out the form at the end of this video. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're taking away and how it's building into your business. So what's next? Where can you go from here? Here are 3 things you can do to move forward in your business. 1, fill out those worksheets and commit to incorporating those principles into your business. Second, know that you're not alone. We have a community of business owners and leaders like yourself, and that community is available for you to join. In it, you can connect with other business leaders, ask questions, join forums and events, and participate in our challenges, all designed to help you succeed. And finally, this webinar is a small piece of what you will find in the Entrepreneurial Growth course. In it, you can gain even more key principles that will help you achieve significant growth for your company. You can take it at your own pace, get access to additional resources, and receive direct support in achieving the goals you have for your business. Thank you, and I wish you the best in your journey as an entrepreneur. The Entrepreneurial Growth course contains 8 sessions: behavior, mindset, strategic plan, metrics, customers, marketing, sales, and then we finally end up with constraints. When you put all of these together, you have a great recipe for growing your business. Along with the 8 sessions, you get 3 components. You get the content, the coaching itself, and also a community of people who are also trying to grow their businesses that can provide support and encouragement and even maybe a few ideas as you go along. So what are some low-hanging fruit for you? What would be the impact to your business if you got maybe one more customer or maybe one more customer per quarter? Write that down. You may be wondering right now, what would be my return on investment if I were to do something like this? When I work with clients, we achieve double-digit growth. Sometimes we can identify an extra $100,000, and that's before we start spending money on sales or marketing. So think about it. If you were to acquire more customers or increase your average order size, what would that be for your return on investment? Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can do just the courses themselves or a mix of courses and coaching. All of these have a community element. Again, you get 8 sessions, over 18 hours of content and material and application exercises, as well as that access to a community. And if you want some time with me, we can talk specifically about your business and how we can continue to build that growth. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I know your time is valuable, and so I do really appreciate that. If for any reason you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me via email or even give me a phone call. You have access to both of those on my website. I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully I get to talk to you soon.